test questions are taken directly from the questions you see on the screen. So you're clear on all those things and no problems there. Okay, yes. All right, let me do a little thing to overview to start with. So I like to do this each time, just trying to get a perspective. So if we approach a building that we think may have asbestos in it, then we're gonna do certain things there to determine what happens to that building as time goes on. If we find no asbestos there, that's great. But if we do find suspect out there, that's we're gonna deal with. So what kind of surgery do it be? Visual surgery. Visual surgery. What are we searching for? Real proceeding. We think recent training and experience might think that's we're going to focus in. Surely the building you're going to start on to work up, because one of the things I'll think about there is it has a base and crawl space. Public purpose do is the systems there. That's when we start and so if you see that, you kind of know what they're going. We divide this suspect by two criteria. What is two criteria? Color and text. We're going to divide those into what? HA. It's two series. Series that are alike. Color and text. For each one of these homogeneous series, we're going to collect RGS. What? Random samples. Random bulk samples or representative bulk samples. If we can be completely random, then the samples will be represented. Human beings, we talked about many times in the past, are not random people, or they're not random beings. So it's this challenge to apply some of our tendencies sometimes, probably more random. That and then we get a representative profile, picture of what's there. All right, so we submit these representative bulk samples for what? Accredited laboratory. And the results then were put back as what? TMP. 5%. 5%. So if there is asbestos in these samples, then it's reported back as high and percent. They report back MD for number 10. That's fine. All right, and plus then, in addition to these things here, we're also going to do a PA for the physical assessment. That's right. So the inspector does the physical assessment. If we're doing, and of course, this course, as I've tried to make clear in the past and emphasize, this course was derived based upon a HERA years and years ago. So a HERA is a school building regulation in the 1980s, and so everything was focused on school building provision. These courses were done originally developed at that time and accredited based upon that. And so there's a lot of school building emphasis in courses. Now I realize that most of y'all probably don't deal any with school building. Some of them don't do, but we have to realize that that's kind of things came from. That's the reason some of the characteristics of these training classes. But if we do find asbestos and it's a school building, it's a requirement to do what? MP, management plan. Okay. So the inspector then, as part of the inspection role, does a physical assessment. All of that information is compiled and sort of what the master planner does, which is a hazard assessment. Okay, so the physical assessment, hazard assessment. In the physical assessment, you're considering two things. What is CC? Physical assessment. It's current condition. You're looking at what things are like right now. You're also thinking about what? EFD. Potential future disturbance. So when you gather that information, then that goes then into school building situation. Or management plan is going to be developed, and that management planner is going to take that information. You may be the management planner, so to do that, but you're going to take that information and create that hazard assessment based upon physical assessment. Right, so all this is very critical. And what you're doing is you're laying the foundation that happens guard that building, guard the asbestos that point forward. So in most cases, of course, various buildings, new buildings, otherwise, it's not going to particularly be the case where that asbestos is simply all removed, in a very short time. That typically does not happen. So typically that material is managed in place. That's where the critical part of critical need for that plan is. Have a public commercial building, not have a requirement to say what to do buildings, but I've always emphasized if they're not called a management plan or otherwise, it helps to direct the management of that material in that building or forward. So we'll talk more about that. So this is just kind of an overview of the topic. So let's go ahead and start on some questions. We're going to see these course objectives, overall course objectives for each section. We're not going to take time to read these, but have see those. All right, so there's a photograph there of a person who appears to be taking a whole sample. Right? What are they sampling there? So, sitting tile, exactly. We do a what? Suspect material, right? During the historic time frame of present, which is pre-1980s buildings, typically, not necessarily always, and those sitting tiles that are suspect materials. Now, this person, as you might notice here, is stressed out to pick equipment. Because what's always going to happen when you take a bulk sample? The fibers are going to be released in the air. So it's very best you do this. There's some fibers, so there's protection. Protection is very important. So there's head covering, body covering, gloves, respiratory protection. What's missing in this photo? Eye protection. So that could be important as well, especially in work. Okay. We're going to start off here the first section talking about applicable regulations, rules, laws, etc. There's those objectives. Can you go back to now?
She's at the top of the
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to go now. So here are here's the first question. Already got answers. Oh, yes, that's right. Which the following is not covered, which is not regulated under a given. The original food regulation, that's hazard emergency response act. Started around 1986. Well, again, it's a school building regulation, and so public commercial buildings are not covered by that. Does that mean that public and commercial buildings are not addressed at all today? It doesn't mean that, does it? Because this is not the end of things. We have another regulation came up later to look at before. Talk about that. All right, so the next is not under here regulation plans accomplish each LEA local education agency. Does a re-inspection of all problem, non-problem, plus the asbestos. That how do I get that show there? So I hit enter or no, that's not it. Yeah. There we go. Hanging out over there. That's presumed asbestos. Okay, so the re-inspection then, the re-inspection is how often then? Every 3 years, right? Is that the only thing that's required? There's another look-see? No, there's a surveillance required too, right? Talk about that. All right, so the answer to this question is it's letter C every 3 years. So that helps. It's already criticism. Hey, it went away. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, 3, 6, 9, 6, 7. Okay. Next question. Are under here accredited personnel required for all the following activities except? So which one does not require accredited personnel under the here and any other regulations today? All right. So if you're going to inspect, if you're going to do inspections, you're required to be accredited. You're going to prepare management plans, or if you're going to design or conduct response action. So all those things require credentials. Now, a management planner automatically includes inspector, right? If you take a management planner training, automatically you're taking part of that, you're actually taking inspector. Well, the recertification. Well, so you're actually both. All right,
That's it.
so not air monitoring. What is air monitoring done about? Is that part of the inspection process? Y'all do air monitoring as part of the inspection process? No, you don't want to do air monitoring. Do you? That's not a good way to do an evaluation of building as far as the asbestos hazard building as it sits. Air monitoring is done when? When is that required?
At the end of the remediation.
Well, at the end of remediation and during remediation, exactly. So abatement activities do the abatement when the abatement's over.
After it's before remediation.
And before, yes,
Or during and after.
that's correct. Exactly right. Our regulation that extended the requirements of ocean construction standard on asbestos to all city municipal employees. What's that called? Because who does OSHA apply to? OSHA applies to the private sector employees, private sector businesses. So in a federal plan state like Alabama, got federal OSHA, then state employees, municipal employees, those people are not included. Well, that was the problem then when it came to asbestos, right? Because you're doing things there, they're not private employees. So OSHA regulations do not apply to those people. So the EPA worker protection rule that came along, EPA created this regulation. It takes that one standard, that asbestos standard construction applies to the state and local employees. So that kind of covers the gap, so to speak. Okay, it's just that one standard, not all OSHA standards that apply. It's EPA worker protection plans, except what class of ACM OSHA regulations are great. What capacity is that? All on this list, the bottom of the screen here, we have 2 of the 3 categories of material. Thermal system insulation, surface material. Now, asbestos material is also can be classified as either flammable or non-flammable. Those classifications. What category is not listed of the 3 categories of material is not listed? Miscellaneous material, right? So when we do this, I didn't put this up on the board officially here, but when we do this, we find suspect materials, we're dividing it by color and texture. We're also considering what category of material it is. Whether it's a surface material, sprayed on or traveled onto the surface, that would be like a sprayed on setting, for example, or maybe some plaster that's applied to the wall. And then you have that surface materials. You have thermal system insulation, which is like on the boiler or on piping, things like that, that's designed to paint heat energy. Then you have miscellaneous. What are some examples of miscellaneous? Tile, exactly. It could be floor tile, or as we saw in that first photograph up here, ceiling tile is also miscellaneous. Right. So what else would be there? Floor tile, those are 2 big ones, by the way. What are some other miscellaneous? How about caulking or mastics? So glue, caulking material, those are miscellaneous materials. What's another big kind of trade name miscellaneous? See sometimes. Translite, that's an asbestos cement. That's a miscellaneous, right? So there's just a whole laundry list. Miscellaneous all of that here. So it's like it's not PSI, it's not surgery material, and it is miscellaneous. So it's kind of like that. All right, so here again does not require what? What does not here are not required out of this list. All right, so you're saying the ERA has no requirements to remove asbestos. Is that really true?
What you said?
Is there any requirement anywhere that says you have to do asbestos? Oh, yeah, but it's not a ERA. Where much you find a requirement to remove asbestos, actually remove asbestos prior to demolition? That's under what regulation? That's under EPA and NESHAP, right? So you can't just take a building that has asbestos in it and just pour the fire hose on there a little bit and bulldoze it down and call it a landfill. That's not what it is. So all problem materials have to be removed, and then there's some differences regionally, maybe the regulations or requirements for what they might say about 50 miles, things like that. But you can't surely take a building, things asbestos, tear it down, and call it the regular. That's not good. That has to be a vacant first. Now, we've seen that come into play in a lot of situations. And one of the things that I've been to an example of is the area that I'm in, state and in 6 other states actually, we have TBA. That's valid. They're tearing down coal fire plants left and right. Well, they tear that plant down, what they got left. They got to be complete. But in my area, the state,
Yeah, well,
tearing down some nuisance structure, whatever, dilapidated. Well, guess what they've got to do? About asbestos is like this. And also going there on Alabama, at Cherokee School up there, Cherokee, Alabama, which is west of the show. I would say you could. They had a water issue. Called their young people just wouldn't come up, like 2 or 3 feet on the ground. They had all kinds of issues building, and they're trying to figure it all out. But they had a certain area that go down to the floor and do some inspection and whatnot. Here's what they had on the floor. They had 4 tiles. Here's what was on the 4 tiles on the floor. Asbestos. I don't think itself had asbestos. They had asbestos abatement areas cut down to that floor and examine things below. And they had things now. So running stuff like that, you can't just go in and find to do what you do. The removal is not a requirement, simple. Now, does that mean you don't remove it sometime? Well, sure you do, because it just makes sense. Especially if it's a bad condition. So that's a judgment call. It's made based on what was found on inspection. With the judgment is made after that. Sometimes they get places that has to get put. All right, here we go. These shafts stand for National Emission Standards for Water. What is the last 3 HAPs? What do they stand for? Stand for hazardous air pollutants. So what's the EPA concerned about here? They're concerned about getting air. Sorry. So airborne asbestos fibers, that can be a problem. We don't want that in the environment. We prevent that. Now, one of the things that they have this standard that's really almost comical when it comes to asbestos is they talk about visible emission. They want no visible emission. No kidding. What's the problem with that concept when it comes to asbestos? You can't see it. Exactly. You have a cloud of asbestos fibers with concentration of pollution. You can't see it because the fibers. That really doesn't make sense. Why do they have that in the standard? Well, it's a standard that includes a whole list of air pollutants. Okay. And so this existed back at the beginning of CPA when they developed this, and they were looking at things without smokestacks, things like that. So that's where that concept came from. They do what they call capacity studies. They'll have a scale that look stack, they'll compare their chart and do these readings. That's one of the things that they've done last. For asbestos, that term is. But really what they want is what? Know what? No emissions. Okay? So that's what the real goal is. You don't want to get fibers in the environment. So if you have a building that's in bad condition, there's a potential for fibers to get outside that building and get fire. Right here, which area is especially for the lake project? Over here, which area is not covered, not ready? Under here. I've got a little bit of a discrepancy here in our answers. Okay. All right, the correct answer is letter B. That's the correct answer, okay?
It could have been.
So, roofing material is regular. Does that mean roofing material cannot be hazardous? Let's think of it. You think of it as being more encapsulated than roofing material. You start carrying that roof off, and there can be concerns, but are you gonna build an enclosure around the entire building like they do, gas with termites and concrete, in this building? You're not gonna do that, are you? But you have to take reasonable measures to control that, and then what you do in place, that depends on sometimes the local or local there. So roof materials are real, it's a real tricky thing. So, but that's not what they regulate. What do they focus on though? They focus on things inside the building. I just cover the walkway, that's outside the building, true, that's over the wall. If you have a walkway, what's that imply? They put walkways randomly everywhere you go. They put them where they expect what? People, exactly, foot traffic, okay? So if you didn't have to, the covered walkway, not be outside, if that walkway has sway on the floor or something on the underside of it, then that concern, even though it's outside the building, so people, there's places where people exposed. You don't expect people to be out there running around all the creek. All right, so who is responsible for regulating worker health and safety? Who's that? Has that area? All right. That's OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. So OSHA and EPA came to being pretty close at the same time. EPA is environmental, OSHA is workplace. All right, they regulate worker health and safety. So they pass laws basically. They pass laws, but they regulations based on laws, and then they enforce those regulations. So here's a little question I can always throw out for my people. So what role does OSHA have in approving things? Equipment, safety related items. They have no approval authority. So if somebody says this is OSHA approved, that's not true, because they don't approve it. Now there is a group, a governmental group that does approve things, and particularly respirators. Who is that? Okay, that's NIOSH. So NIOSH and OSHA are not connected. OSHA is part of the labor, NIOSH is not our department. So NIOSH does research. They do studies on toxic materials, potential toxic materials. They make recommendations to OSHA or to set standards like exposure limits and such. And they test and certify respiratory protection. So they're the ones then talking about something that's approved in terms of health and safety. That's not respiratory, not OSHA. Right. So, but now what does OSHA say about that? They say if you're going to use a respirator in the workplace, it has to be what? It has to be NIOSH approved. Okay. So there's a reference there, it's a connection. But OSHA does not approve anything. It's NIOSH. Our according to here inspection requirements, the inspector must do what? What must the inspector do? All right, so the goal then is to find all of it, right? Are you going to be able to find all of it? Probably not, right? Because some of it may be enclosed in structures in the building that you're not going to be able to access or see into. Okay, but you're going to try to find all of it you can. And so you're going to go to places where average building height doesn't go right. You're going to go to those places that sometimes very few people go into. But you're going to be searching and looking at this suspect material everywhere you can access. Okay. All right. And so your goal is to try to find it all, but in many cases, not almost all cases, there's some that's going to be. I'll use the example that I've used before. Let's say that we're in a certain kinds of hospitals are classic for this. Let's say that those doors right there are fire rated. What's probably going to be doors? Probably going to be asbestos in the building inspection. So you got asbestos in those. Say you have asbestos in sandwiched in between the outer skins. What are you going to do about that? Gonna get your drill out. Get your whole saw. Get Not a big hole in the door, samples of that. Not gonna do that, are you? But are you gonna ignore it? So you're gonna document find something on a blueprint or building spec, and somebody tells you, these are probably the doors, document that. Might have to document and say these doors are identified as fire rated doors, so we don't really know. But it's suspicion. Okay. So that means that has to be flagged, and that means that then that building has a management plan or something into that going forward. That means that they need to say add a window or something to one of those doors that doesn't have a window. They're gonna have to cut a section of that door out to do that. They can't just flat do that drop line. You'll have to back up. See where the first one take over. Right, so things like that, even though you may not touch it, see it, take a sample of it, still document that. Asbestos containing material that's defined like so termite, like what does that really mean? What's the actual definition? It's not just the EPA definition, by the way. OSHA has the exact same definition. ACM then is material that contains more than 1% asbestos. So this lab report here comes back and it says less than 1%, and that's technically not what? It's not technically SCM. But it has some that found some asbestos fibers. That's what it later report back any number greater than one. It's called ACM. So if you have one sample from one area sample, and you have another area sample, this is different. This is running about 20%, this is running 35 or 40%. How do you treat that? You know, once it's over 1%, so 1%, it's 2.5%, 3%, whatever the number might be, which is your fractions. And it's there it is. It's already it's in that category. That's how you deal with it that way. All right, the LEA, that's local education agency, must select a designated person. In other words, qualifications. Criteria. This designated person. All right, the requirements for this are not highly technical. Okay? I just tell you that that person has to have adequate training to carry out your rules. So if they never heard of asbestos before, you're probably not going to pick that person on. That's not going to be a good choice. That person needs to have some understanding of awareness. So sometimes this may be a accredited inspector, maybe a accredited inspector who has a plan. But it doesn't have to do. But they do have to know something about everything. Yeah. So it's just that kind of requirement. Okay? Or it's like, we say sometimes people are more passionate. Our school system, maybe the management planner, is better than the that's a possibility. Especially smaller systems. Which one of these four here is a true statement? Inspector groups. Accredited inspector must also be accredited management planner. Management planner must also be accredited inspector. Cannot be. All right, so the second choice there, letter B, accredited management planner must also be accredited inspector. It's called accredited. So you're going to be a management planner, you must have the inspector. So that's just the way it was set up. So it's training them all week. Right.
Put down some of it.
Right, so both. All right. So which of the following activities is responsible management planner rather than inspector? There's different responsibilities. So which one is exclusive management planner? One of these is exclusive management planner. Only management planner does this. Right, so what did we say the fiscal assessment, whose job is that? That's the inspector's job, right? The hazard assessment, that's a whole different thing. That's a thing another step or two forward. That's only done by the management planner. Okay? But the fiscal assessment is absolutely critical. Management planner cannot be a hazard assessment unless the fiscal assessment first been done. Now, if the person if it's the same person, then obviously that same person is critical. It's the person if you're doing multiple roles in the student system, or the public person doing parallel things, then that person's also still have to. So these kind of assessments, how is that important as far as what happens to the building going forward? Makes those things important. And you have to have priorities, right? You have something that's identified in this assessment before it causes significant damage. That's something that becomes urgent. That's a priority thing. If you didn't do that, you wouldn't know where to start. And what else may be important there? Let's say you have a maintenance. What's important about having things done well with that maintenance? They've got to know where the hazards are, and they've got to have some guidelines as far as what they do. Sometimes you might have a person, for example, like this person, has very, very good estimate, knows about these things. Even if they didn't have rules, they would kind of know what, but that's not going to be common. And don't want people getting accidentally filled creating some mess where they're exposed unnecessarily. Okay, that's a bad situation. What's also true, they make a mess. They don't know it better. They tear out some material and doing some other work that they're doing. Not really tear some out. The job is, what's the problem with that besides their exposure? What have they been done?
Manage it.
Can they do it? Can they do it? If fibers don't get stable on the spot, they're not very well disciplined, that kind of. So that is sort of a lot of, that's where a lot of problems. So talk about building systems here, and you see this multi-level building, and you'll notice that like I mentioned before, going in the basement there, they got some equipment down there. They'll put the equipment out where they can see it most of the time. They hide it away, usually. So here's some equipment here. What's happening? This equipment, it's not just the stuff right here, but what's it doing? It's going through all the floors. So we go down here first, you see that, see where this is headed, and we kind of know what we're going to see as we go up. We're going to be looking to say, okay, here it is. It's going through the penetrating through the first floor level, into the first floor level. That we're going to look for here before we go there up, see how far it goes, where it is located, who can get contacted. And all the way up, though, you can have roofing materials that you've got there. And the fact that it's not regulated over here, as we said earlier, does not mean don't mention it in the report, right? Know that there's roofing materials there, and we can identify. We're not going to look up those roof bars. That's not on the program. Okay? But if we can identify that as suspect material noted, and then if we find on the building spec what's there, know that there's asbestos in it, document that as well. That doesn't mean we're going to take samples of it, but we don't want to ignore it either. Okay? And so you can have piping that goes through, you can have wall plasters, sitting floor tiles, insulation material, clay, caulk around limits, interior, exterior cement pipes. So all these things then are potentials. Let's look at this suspect material. All right, so let's look here. Talk about this building systems. Now, we're looking for an open drawing, line, ACM, and control. They're probably not clear math. It would tell what the building was like as it was constructed. In other words, all the dates, changed orders, all that included in that. It's just that doesn't typically result or typically exist as everything is all the results are in, so to speak. When the building complete, they don't go back and document building drawings. But what do we have that does document all of the things that have been different from the initial outlay of the building? What we have, right? We have specs and we have change orders, things like that. So you find that documentation there, that's going to give you a better idea. So anything that you can find potentially be valuable. So just that on the physical loop, things may not be exactly that way as the building is actually constructed. Well, it's also true about most buildings in terms of as time passes by. Repairs, modifications, additions, and so it's not just what was there in it, it's what has happened since then. Let's take this room, for example, here. What's on the wall right now that we can actually see? Or some type of carpet material, right? What's under the carpet? We don't know. So as the building was recently built, it can have vinyl asbestos floor tile there, and then later on, they put carpet on top. Now, if you got some written documentation of things that have been done to change the building, that's great. Or if you can find a person who's been in that building all that time and say, hey, yeah, this used to be this tile, we laid that carpet on top of that 4 years ago. That's valuable information, right? So that's the kind of thing you're going. It's like an investigation. All right. Building and mechanical drawing self-inspectors do what? What's the most things help?
Okay.
Yes. So can it help to identify functional and structural areas that need inspection? Oh yeah, sure. How about locating heating and cooling distribution systems? Sure. Why is that? Why would they single that out? What's important about that? That's where a lot of times asbestos was used for. The next by corn. And plus, as we talked about, sometimes it may have had asbestos in there originally. You go look at it, you don't see what's might have happened. Might take it out, right? Don't know if they did a good job or not a good job, but know that it's not there. But that's important. Some people got a little anxious. They saw some of these regulations coming, and they tore asbestos out left and right. They didn't do it well. That's bad. In fact, some of the very, very early asbestos removals were done. They tried to build enclosures. They didn't use heavy pressure on those. Our revivers got out. Sure. They just put a tin up and think, oh, let's seal this off. You can't seal it off, you've got to have people such as that. So you have to have flaps and some kind of open. And that thing, people move around in there, create air movement, and flowing, get onto that somehow. As far as outside, if you're close, right? If I was find that out quick, sent outside of here, hey, if I was just taking can't sit it off. What do? We put it under negative pressure. So the air, any air that moves, it's not moving inside outside, it's moving outside inside. So those are lessons learned. So going back historically, asbestos has been removed, that doesn't mean everything's just compensatory. That may have a large area that do it. That's so. So all those okay, building space located above city, below air returns, electric, zone, parking, HVAC, what we call that. If we describe it before we go to single family residence, you've got what we call simply heat and air. You typically have a large duct that's going from an air turn reel back to the air handler, and it's all closed, it's all tank. That's typical for single family house, but go to larger buildings, that's not the case. They just can't, they don't have the space to build it. Not every time to run turn ducts all over the building. So as a result of the air kind of makes it back, so off that equipment. Now, if we talk about this room, like I'm saying that right now, this air handling system is moving air, got these slots up here in the city where it's coming out. I can hear the turn right there, right over there. It's back in here. So I can hear it. I stick my hand in there a little bit, I can feel the air moving. So that's the air returns. I just a plenum area by terms of air movement right in there. So what if inside there's some spray on asbestos? What makes that so? Research. That's right, it can it can be coming off of that, it's problem material, it can be air erosion, stripping off some fibers, putting airflow, and then it's spreading throughout the entire building. And so what would stop that? Those fiberglass filters they have, and the air handling system, that won't stop it.
Sure.
Not even gonna slow it down, is it? So it's just contamination. Okay? So considering those things, then that's a big factor. Looking at building, what the status of the building. Well, which one is not a typical use of asbestos in electrical systems? We talk about HVAC systems, but also we got to think about electrical systems. So what is not typical? Right, asbestos is not a conductor, it does not conduct electricity. So what is it then? It's an insulator. So it's an insulator not only from a thermal standpoint, it can be an insulator from an electrical standpoint. Well, so sometimes you on the insulation part of the wires, sometimes a woven material. See that? Actually, see it's every bar, you see woven material. Sometimes it's a woven material like that, and it's covered with rubber or vinyl or plastic material on the outside skin of it. So if you don't cut into the wire, then it's kind of sealed up. Right? Start cutting in, strip the wire to do some wiring installation or whatever, then there you go. Or if it's drug, if it is on the outside, it's drug across the sharp edge, pull the wire, back and put some wire that way. Sometimes you have partitions in electrical panels, go up in a different breaker box. You've got all these connectors in there, these bus bars, then you have these little thin, I call it wafer like structures in there to kind of keep you accidentally together what you don't want to get together. Sometimes those might have asbestos. Then a lot of cable tray conduits have asbestos. What kind of asbestos material all that is that kind of application? Transite. So you take asbestos, pour it cement, and maybe some sand and some other filler materials, make some asbestos cement structures. Might be a tube like a piece of conduit, it might be a three-sided structure like a tray, and you have wires laying in that. What's the big advantage of an asbestos cement product like transite being takes place conduit versus metal? It's non-conductive. So if there's a wire that gets skinned a little bit, such as that cable tray or conduit, it just doesn't hurt anything. Of course, a lot of times cable tray conduit is metal, it might be grounded in that purpose as well, so you kind of lose that function. But a lot of this material is used for that purpose. All right, in plumbing systems, we talk about HVAC, we talk about electrical. What about plumbing systems? What was the purpose of asbestos? What was it used for plumbing systems? Primary use. There may be secondary use. See, well, primary, that's for letter A here, temperature control, hot water, steam. Sometimes you might see some purely used cold water lines. Why would anybody insulate cold water line? Water cold. The purpose? No, it's to deal with condensation, right? Because we have a bare metal pipe there and have high humidity, have cold water running through that pipe. So a lot of times that's done that. Sometimes you may see asbestos material on a pipe that is what we call air cells, running that material. It's like corrugated particle. That's what it looks like. It's an asbestos paper product. So what we need to understand about asbestos is anyway you can other fibers, use asbestos fibers. So it's paper, cardboard, well, it's used in, like I said, in asbestos containing cement material, the woven is a fabric-like material, so asbestos is a very versatile way. Okay, sometimes we might see something almost looks like cardboard, but primarily for temperature control, hot water, steam. Sometimes this insulation, you might have spots on that line where you might actually see some of the actual insulation material, but chances are most of that's going to be covered with some type of fabric, like a muslin cloth type fabric. And sometimes it may have corrugated aluminum skin on the outside, like the steam line on the cap. So even outdoors, you see a steam line going down. Otherwise, you can tell that usually it's outdoors, they go down and you'll have one of these like this. I've seen that across the chemical plant, something. You'll have an offset, an offset expansion, right? So that's almost a dead giveaway of steam line, right? They don't get that most other steam lines like this. And a lot of times you see something like that, the outside skin of it likes to be like metal skin. The insulation is underneath at the time. So it's not always you can see on elbows and valves, T's and B's like that. A lot of times they couldn't use freeform insulation. You can only straight on every pack and form it picks up on the side and pack around that on hand. Make those connections insulated. And sometimes you can see that, like you may have a little skin on it, you might have an elbow or something. It's not covered. And so it may that's cloth put on it, whatever, or that may got off, whatever. So a lot of times you find damaged areas where they don't support on it, not find it, but a lot of times it's going to cover it. Same line, and not working. All right. There's some photographs here. That's a misnomer. That's not a secret. That's an average. And there's a reason that is not written here, but inside this hood here, these panels, you see these gray panels, translate material. That's asbestos cement. In some cases, the countertop for this dark gray or black material may also contain asbestos. They have a material called FEB, which is also sometimes used in electrical substations. How many people in building people here? Y'all been in a substation where you see black panel board, we got the instruments and stuff. That's called an ebony board. Usually, that's the term I've heard used. And so it's usually like thick. It's not like a quarter, half-inch thick. It's usually pretty thick material. Well, that many times has contained asbestos. So you have to deal with that. Somebody going in and changing stuff now. Well, a lot of these utility substations like that, maybe stuff I've been there for 60, 70 years. Then new instrumentation comes along, they have to replace some of that. Hole's not the same, so you have to do modification, and that's a concern. But in laboratory, you have that these countertop type materials, and then you have this. And most of the time, these sections here, framework is going to be metal. Sometimes, I have seen some in one place I've observed this where all that is transite too. The framework is made out of transite, channels here, and all this. And as you move that up and down, it rubs just like an old wood range. And so you find dust range, it's not like dust around the bottom. But in any event, why do they do that? What's the idea there? All right, the fires, exactly. You can have lab, you can have business stuff, sometimes you can have fire. It's contained in that good then and safe. And also you can find the ductwork exhausting out this covered with asbestos as well, but you don't want the fires drawn into that ductwork, you don't want that combustible structures to make line there as well. There's some asbestos cement pipes, side pipe, and it looks just like maybe other types of pipe you see. Sometimes it's not as thick, maybe it's for water supply lines, and transite materials all fine and good. It's all bound together, but it's not. What can cause that to not be bound? Have physical damage, obviously by chipping or breaking it. What else can happen?
What's your vibration?
Okay, so over time that can deteriorate, just like you need concrete. I use the example: if you got a downspout sidewalk that comes out on the sidewalk or driveway, it's concrete. You look at that, years later, what do you see there? That concrete is rougher there where the water's concerned. So what you have erosion, that cement, the cement part of that, and then once it's exposed, back to gravel. Now you can see where gravel is. Well, in this case, you don't have gravel there. What do you got? You got asbestos in the bottom. So that can get kind of fuzzy. And then if you rub against it or whatever, you well off some of those fibers. Same thing when you go through that. Eventually, that's going to start to erode fibers. There's the countertop here. You see here, we have a break in it. You see a close up of that. That looks a little suspicious to you. Because to me, that looks like it's got some fibers in it. It does. so that's some of that countertop. That's there where it's got. So as long as it's like this and nobody's scratching or breaking it or whatever, it's not gonna hurt anybody. But now something's happening, right, so here's a lot of different pictures here. You've got fencing material. There's that electrical substation stuff we kind of talked about. You've got some ceilings here. You've got some corrugated transite material on the roofs here. You've got floor tile down here. You've got some spray on ceiling material here. So you've got all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of miscellaneous materials out there. Fine buildings. It's just everywhere, especially on. Vinyl tile is it's if it's sheet vinyl where they used to roll it out, you know, over the whole room basically one piece. Sometimes a smaller room. The asbestos is not on the top of the tile; it's on the other side of that. And that was a mat kind of on the bottom, helped stick down there because that big spread glue, not travel the whole floor, glue it down. So that's kind of on the bottom side. Squares then anything that needs throughout the tile. So that means that this, as long as we don't get down below the surface of it, you're fine. That other tile, if somebody starts to strip wax or do something like that, raise the buffing pad, strip wax off of it to re-wax it. And that's when you can cut down the tile so it actually costs a lot. So some of those kind of tiles are making things throughout the tile. And this kind of sheet tile here is on the side of that. So unless you rip that up, then it's pretty much sealed up. There's a board there that has warning labels on it that contains asbestos. So again, this has a covering or skin on it, maybe painted outside. That would be released when the board structure outside asbestos. There's some old ceiling tiles there. Y'all recognize that? Y'all see ceilings like that? These are the individual squares of tile that have perforations here. Why do these tiles have holes in them? Sort of. This helps to be more acoustic, right? That's what you have. If you take one to an old recording studio somewhere, you might see that on the walls. Every surface they put it on, right? Go to a hearing test booth. Inside that booth may be a metal skin that what's it got? It's got holes all in it. That's for acoustic problems. So that was it's somewhat decorative, I guess, to keep it so oriented, but really more so acoustic problems. So that's what you might see. You see the four little dots of mastic here. So that's brown mastic. That's probably asbestos there. Tile probably has asbestos in it. But of course, obviously, you can see damage to this, which can cause some microbursts. Otherwise, it's coated fairly smooth and should not release microbursts. That's the sort of damage like this. Okay, which group of items will not be considered part of HVAC system? Not part of HVAC system. Look at these answers. Look at this. This is about terminology. Because if you go and inspect the building, you're going to talk to somebody that's going to use terminology that's related to their expertise. Okay, you got to be able to get that those people so you don't have misunderstandings. So if they talk about things like chillers, condensers, cooling towers, air handlers, registers, things like that, they've got very specific things in mind. These terms over here are terms you use related to the electrical system. So you got to be familiar with the terminology, lingo, dealing with people, especially people like that's going to be a very valuable person. Inspection process. Somebody who knows all about the building, knows all the places in the building, knows how all the things work. So I can show you things from this. All right, let's take a little break here. We're going to go to the next section. So,
That was five chemical. Sign up.
What was the last question we did?
I don't like this. There's a limit on how many questions you have, but I'm going to have a section. Kind of go to new section.
That's what we did, was 20. Yeah. So we skipping from 21 to 41. We'll make sure, like the last question we did was number 20.
You serious?
Yes.
This says section 2.
Around 40.
Yeah, I don't think we,
Yeah, we ended up on 20.
I'll tell you what, hang on just a second. Just sit, back up here, see.
Yeah.
Well, now there could be some numbering issues. Well, now these, I'm not sure the number is actually.
Yeah, it jumped. Could be out of order.
That's what I'm thinking. So there's one that we just did. Got 5 different ones. So we've done number one. But this should be, I'm not sure the numbers actually side.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the groupings are kind of mixed. All right, so let's go ahead and go through this.
Hold on, let's go.
4, 3, 4, 1, 2, 9, 8, 5.
This physical power.
Put in your new code number.
Fire chemical resistance.
All right, so this question here then, which one of these is that's like a popular building? The coloring doesn't matter, does it? It's not, it does not have conductivity, it's insulator, that's electric, right? But it does have good fire and chemical resistance. So those two together, as well as several other properties, made a very popular building. It was very versatile. It can do several things at the same time. It was really, if you go back historically, there was no other building material that could form the way asbestos did. No, absolutely no, there was no option A or option B, option C. It was only asbestos with all these things. And so it was better than anything else. Plus, it could be dug up out of the ground. It wasn't had to be manufactured, say, it had to be processed and put in the materials. There were several reasons. There were geographic concerns, geographic issues. Mostly about 95% or more of the building materials in the United States contain asbestos came from Canada. So one specific type of asbestos. So readily labeled geographically, labeled in large quantities, excellent performance in several different ways, including fire systems. So this was a very good choice for doing what we did. All right, so next one then. Oh, come on now.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, one down.
Give everybody an A and let's go.
See what's going on.
Pass it back, let's go.
Right.
Well, you know what, that could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Let us guess the letter of your mind, LB.
we do this.
That's the show.
All right, I'm sorry, let's try this.
Oh, yeah.
I did that one. All right, we're gonna get another. 4, 3, 4, 1, 5, 8, 5. I think it's like, for some reason, it went to. Andy, really, there. Okay, let's try this. What's that? This person here, then what's he doing with this right here? He's waiting it for the samples click, right? So it's important to do that or to use, not eliminate, but use properly. Let's go ahead and. Right here, the example, the material here and seal containers. More about it.
Brown on the site.
All right, so
That would go.
here's 21. The lab analyzes both samples.
Type in percent.
That's pretty straightforward, right? We're going to tell you 2 things. We're going to tell you the type that there's 6 possible types, 3 common types. But 3 types uncommon, you probably never see before, putting those. But there's other 3 common types, and those 3 common types are one way more common. Those 2 talk about that. They report 5 and percent. The percent's going to be S. It's going to be whole numbers. It's going to be S. Example, this one. All right, so why would two bulk samples take two different parts of the same room and get different results? How could that happen? Two samples in the same room, what appears to be the same material.
Batch mix.
Material spread. Batch mix.
So the clause in estimate is letter B, right?
Yes.
These materials, there's a new code, by the way, guys. New code on the screen. They were, in many cases, they were batch mixed on site, they weren't how consistent. You can see that, you've ever been around construction operation, kind of see that, how that. Some of the construction has to be extremely precise, other parts, not so precise. So, including construction industry, there's kind of different levels of exactness. Right? When bulk samples, you take bulk samples, you sure do what? So, if you take bulk samples,
Sample all layers of material. Oh, yeah.
okay, so best section here is letter B, right? We want to sample all layers. Layers, want to go all the way to what? We call that substrate, right? The substrate would be non-suspect, right? It might be wood, it might be concrete, it might be steel, or other metal. Something that's not suspect, or something that's in layers. Surface. Want to go all the way through all the different layers because it can be different.
We all run together.
You might just don't go deep enough, and not be asbestos. Deeper. So we want to make sure you get all the layers. How many samples of TSI from this latest cement are required? This is another way of saying what's the minimum number of samples you take given home. Well, the minimum number is what?
3.
Three. Okay. Is 3 always adequate? Not at all. You're looking at surface area, it's going to be adequate from how many square feet?
1,000.
Right? Well, 1,000, you got to bump that up. How many samples you take? Between 1,000 and 5,000.
At least 5.
Take 5. What if it's about 5,000 square feet? 7. What is the recommended number? Did they say 9? 9. Okay. I've got a very small area. You take 9 samples, might most of the material off. You know? But that's what they recommend. So it's judgment. Got a minimum number. Got a recommended. 3 is absolutely the area up to 1,000 square feet. Now, is there an alternative to this? Yes. Right. So if you got material, this contains a lot of times $4. You don't want to go ahead, don't want to go out here and start making holes in $4 material. You already know that you're certain that it's asbestos containing material. Why would you have samples? So you can say, well, I got evidence that this contains asbestos. It's here original building, confirm that. And real inspects it's asbestos containing copper. PAT, mild asbestos copper sample. So why would you take a sample of that? What purpose of that, sir? None. Okay.
Make money.
Make money. Okay. All right. What's the downside of that though? Do that, once you do that, it's what? It's considered ACM, that point forward. So if you make a mistake or something, throws you off there a little bit, and it's really not asbestos, then that's handled as asbestos from that point forward. So there's a potential downside to it if it doesn't. Right. But if you're correct about it, there is no downside because you haven't taken any samples. You don't have no sample expense. You're not damaged the material. Every time you sample something, you damage the material that causes fiber release. And it's a win-win deal. Correct. What should the inspector do when the sample is later? Core sample is later. So you see obvious layers there. Thinking, what would you do?
Look at your budget.
Well, you have a option. Per answer, this is what we on the test, by the way. This is on the test. Gonna be letter C, look backwards, for the mixed material separation later. In other words, is it consistent or not consistent, based on what they actually see. What are they looking for the job? All right, they're looking through the microscope, even with comparing samples, they're examining under magnification. So, letter C is the short answer. I'm at this point, you just read that on the test, answer whatever you want to. Is okay, wrong? You know, change your mind, that's all right. Gotta have the pressure, right? Small sampling equipment claim that resample site. What's, trying to go with all that? That's one reason it. There's more than one reason, right? Obviously, one can't cross contamination because otherwise, one have distinct samples you're taking to mix it all together anyway. Cross contamination that affects us. You're cross contaminating the samples. You keep it samples. Also, you want to prevent fiber in that equipment site. Because somebody else might be using it, you're going to put it in the vehicle. Don't want to have contamination spread. So, need to clean it, need to sample. That's a lot of trouble, but that's part of the game. Homogeneous areas defined as what? Say earlier this morning. What is homogeneous? Two critical words here, right? Two critical words. What are those two words? Text. It's all about
Color and text.
Areas, right? Does it look the same based on color, on the texture of the material? So we're making an assumption there that this is uniform, is the same stuff. It may or may not be. So it might be replaced with something else there that looks the same. Or we can tell by visual means it's the same stuff. Also, we say, okay, we'll call that a homogeneous area. That might be in a single room, it might be in multiple rooms, it might be in different things of the building, it might be on multiple floors of the building, going through certain rooms like pipe. So earlier, working to do a big heat system, for example, state line. So it can be a big or a small area, not anything that really defines that certain situation area in the building. Like we have samples taken from the surface in homogeneous areas. We're going to collect them in what? Location with damage prevalent, locations undisturbed, statistically random manner, etc. If we choose to do letter A, or we choose to do letter B, what are we doing our sample? We're introducing what? Bias. Okay. We don't want to be biased, we can be what? Random, right? Right. And representing. Because what we're doing both samples. You got to think by taking very, very small pieces, represent relatively large areas, whether it's on a 5%, whatever. So you take a little bit, represent a whole lot. So a little bit of error there multiplies that. So we want to be as random and representative. That's why we take multiple samples. That's why we try to bias our samples. Okay? So if we choose one of those two, that may be material that was damaged a long time ago, got fixed, non-asbestos, for example, got re-damaged, water leaks sometimes, for example, come to the same place. I think they fixed it, they didn't really fix it, it came back to the same place, food maybe expand on the track, so we can place there. And then sample, go to sample damages prevalent, maybe sample feel it's different once the rest of the room because it's been changed. So that's just an example, most common example, I think, something like that, bias in our sample, so our bias is saying, this looks good, that's damage over there, I don't want to tear this up, it's good, I'll take my sample over there. It could be bad. Samples of a homogeneous area are not collected. What? I'll just say there. Right, you have to assume that that's, you know, suspect material. So you can't just bypass suspect. You either got sampling, suspect, got to assume what you're going to got. You can say, well, that's probably okay. Can't do that. Suspect, got to deal with it. All right, you drop something in the pool, my collecting the bulk samples, it's going to happen. What do you do? Do that. So the only legitimate thing to do is wet it and clean up the leak. So you want to keep it from getting worse. And you want to get it all cleaned up, see, so that somebody else doesn't get contact, trying to clean up themselves and don't know what it is, or stepping it, spreading it out another area. So that has to be done right away. All right, when you collect a sample of suspect material, what you do, collect it areas unoccupied, protect equipment with the area sampling, all of it. Since programs, of course, various parts of this happen, and it is all of those things, right? Definitely want to try to areas unoccupied, various reasons. Limit exposure to other people to not get people all stirred up. If you're sitting there wearing all this stuff, you're collecting the sample, they're sitting there not wearing any protection, they're close by, they're going to start wondering. And you definitely want to protect yourself. You want to do sample. Which makes sense. Send them to a laboratory, send them to credit laboratory. Who does this accreditation? What is the accreditation called?
Yeah.
Right, so sometimes what we say is all those words, what we say. So NAP lab, right? So that's National Voluntary Laboratory Accreditation. Now, what does that guarantee? Remember, guarantee anything does just a kind of like a standard, okay? Hopefully, if they're in this program, they're going to do a good job. They may do a good job, they may not do a good job, but at least make an effort to call out some of the labs that may not know what to do. Make sure they do asbestos. So that's just an attempt to try to get a better result. Well, I always use the accredited lab. So presumably they've been through the accreditation process, through their periodic testing rounds, so that they're efficient, get to the results. There's somebody doing some either sample prep or analysis using a microscope. You can see the microscope in a box, a closed box.
That would be example prep.
Yeah, it just looks more like prep for sample. That's a stereo. That's a stereo there. They have to prepare the samples and make analysis.
Okay, here we go.
All right, what do you have as far as documentation? Center of box for the containers. But the container has to be carefully identified, right? You also have to have, some people object to this term chain of custody, and also they use other terms. Basically, what it is paperwork to go with this, so keep up what sample went where the sample came from, and also the fact that it's handed off person to person. It maintains the integrity of the sample results. That's just standard in any kind of sampling procedure you do. You have to have chain of custody or something. So you have to do the paperwork. Right. So that's pretty obvious. Laboratories most often switch analysis to identify asbestos or sample. What's the most common type of analysis? The correct answer is B, BLM. What does that stand for? Polarized light microscopy. Is there one of these others that could be used? It's not necessarily the most common. could be used for that. Actually, maybe have more certain results. You know, transmission microscopy. But polarized light microscopy is much more common in terms of there's lots of those instruments out there. And quite a few people trying to do that. Go to TEM, go to find for those right here. They're more hard to find. It's more expensive, of course, the costs come down over the years, especially so it's not as common. Now, there is a requirement to use the under certain situations. What would that be? Doesn't have to do with the study. You analyze clearance samples after the labor project is done. It's legal. They have the requirements of federal regulations are tested. Now, when I see stuff like that, that sort of tells me something. Why would they specify that for clearance sample? Because they consider it to be very critical. Right? So what do they also consider TEM versus other methods? Or probably more accurate or reliable. Say again? Okay. All right. So that kind of tells you have that available. That might have some advantage there. What can TEM do that PLM can't do? TEM also can identify asbestos fibers, but it can also do fiber counts as interference. So it can actually do both. Polarized light microscopy is only identification that has nothing to do with counting fibers and pairs. You have a different microscope than that. I usually try to tell people remember that PCM phase contrast, think of the C and M, and remember. So that's for air samples. This is for remote samples. Okay? This can do both. Test answer D. This answer is D. Okay. All right, so this is magnified shots, asbestos fibers with a microscope. And you can see kind of the nature of this material. See bundles of fibers, what like you see the fibers by naked eye. Here's one fiber. Here we see that that's actually more of a bundle of fibers. So there's some more microscope. That material appears to be anesthetic cellulite because the way the fibers look straight. With that, the whole sample should always be quiet. I talked about weighing material. Got a steel container, also got a labeling container that goes to the paper documentation as well. So you want to do all those things. That's just standard sampling strategy, sampling technique. Always want to do those things to maintain very consistent. If you mess up the sampling results, you need to have a lab report comes back, printed on a nice piece of paper, a nice data table, all that, those numbers, absolutely nothing. You have to do the sampling correct. You may get a result that may not be accurate or mean. Don't do the sampling. How many samples require minimum number greater than 5,000 square feet?
7.
What's the name? All right. And all right, man. All right, so greater than 5,000 square feet, 7 samples. About 3, 5, 7, 9. You know, square footage, 3, 5, 7.
That's all you need to do. Let it work.
All right, there's
There's
uses here, just photograph. What color is that?
blue.
Kind of blue or gray color, right? So what kinds of they have? Silver. Okay,
Crocodile.
exactly.
I like crocodile.
And the fibers are pretty much straight fibers. That looks like crescendo light.
Crescendo light.
Okay, there's different types. We probably said earlier, there's 6 types. There are 6 types of asbestos. Three you probably never see. 3 that are common, and one of those is way more common for the 2 common types. So actinolite is very rare. You won't see that very often. And opalite, probably never see that. Tremolite, may not ever see that. Some of these rare ones have been mined in the United States. No tremolite. These are found in deposits just like any other mineral, concentrated in certain spots geographically. I don't know why that is, but that's just the way it is. That's why you don't dig in the backyard. Pretend you find gold or something like that. You know where people are mining gold, there's probably more there. Iron ore, things like that. So these are just minerals like any other minerals, browns. And the 3 common types, andesite, chrysotile, and crystalline. So out of those 3 right there, which one is the most common?
Crystalline.
Which one?
That's it. Right.
Chrysotile, crystal, that's right.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So this is the
what?
most common type of 3 common types. These are out there. So way more common than these 2 right here. Which is the next most common after that? Andesite. The most rare. So these were mined in different areas. Chrysotile, the big mining area worldwide, that is Canada. There's probably more chrysotile mined in Canada than anywhere else in the world. Andesite was first mined in South Africa. In fact, that's kind of where the name comes from. Asbestos mines in South Africa. Crystallite is found in various places. Again, considerably more rare. You may not have seen examples of that possible crystallite. But chrysotile, definitely, you may see some andesite. I would see much crystallite at all. Out of these 3 types right here, chrysotile is different than the 2. I mentioned these are more straight, rigid-like fibers. These are what's called serpentine fibers. You have aquilone fiber, these 2 types, and others. This is the only one that has serpentine fibers, meaning snake-like with curving type fibers. So if you see woven products from asbestos, it's going to typically be chrysotile asbestos because it's more suitable for that kind of application. So if you see fabric like material that's made from asbestos, it's chrysotile. All right. Little short video here. See what these guys right here are doing. This is not taken recently, obviously. They're handling material, raw material, which is asbestos, no protection, and they're putting in the machines that are used processing textiles. So this could be cotton or wool. They put it in the same kind of machines on the process. So asbestos fibers, of course, chrysotile common with this, but it can be processed, or it can be processed just like any other textile material. Wool, cotton.
Keep racing up.
Yeah. Getting too.
Have a good time there. One day. All right. What do you think about exposure to operations like that? That comparable to what we see today? Not even close, is it? That's on off the scale compared to what exposure is going to be. All right, here's some of the natural form here. This is the chrysotile. It's got a kind of whitish color look to it, off white. Flexible looking fibers. So that next year. Past the holiday period now. When I was growing up, you go in the store and buy an aerosol can, have a label on it, something like this. You're decorating for the holidays, and you want stuff on your windows that look like the snow accumulates. You have to do that in Alabama. So, don't know if they don't have to worry about this, because they get it all the time. Kind of decorate like that. Maybe you Christmas tree, you want to call it blocking, you want to kind of put some on your Christmas tree like it's got snow on it. Some of this spray right here says it looks like real snow. It's the cleanest, whitest, best. Okay, and it's also what? It's fireproof. It's fireproof. Okay. A lot of Christmas tree fires happen now. LED lights and things like that, much better now because of course most of them are Christmas trees now too. But you know, you get an actual tree, you put it in the house, it starts to dry out. Put these hot non-LED lights on it. Sometimes people have Christmas tree fires in their house because of that. So this would help with that. So you can put that all on the tree, it will fireproof your tree because it's got asbestos in it. What kind of asbestos I have? Right. Get the right style. That's kind of more white color, like Amazon. You don't want brown snow on your tree, right? You don't want blue snow in your tree. So you put process house snow, fireproof your tree. So there's the kind of products that are out there that focus on body stuff. It's not like I see it for special order. It's just all they come like that, stuff like that. Go with your Christmas tree. There's some asbestos for in the boot, scraper. And sometimes the blue asbestos, sometimes it's tile, and sometimes both. All right, most common form of asbestos buildings. What to say? How do you get close? So about 95% or more of asbestos in the United States. Verify that. It's hostile asbestos. Okay. So way far more way. Most common type of U.S. buildings. Our problems include what? What kind of problems does asbestos have? Doesn't burn, right? It has high density, been talking about this spring, it has high density fibers. It's a good noise control, but it does not have adhesiveness, does it? Come together like a stick. That's why it's easy for it to come apart. Get everyone's because it doesn't actually stick together or do other things. I know it's symbolize numbers which one? What color is symbolize? Well, people get confused on this. Symbolize the blue asbestos.
Yes.
Which one is white? Which one is white? Oh, that's
Right.
This is white. Brown asbestos is what? So blue asbestos. White asbestos is in order. Most likely, at least likely to be kind of building. So what's the order?
Right.
Both likely. First and crop.
This is what we said. That first and outside equal symbol. So we better see. All right.
It's a
So fire chemical resistance is really premier properties made for fire chemical resistance. Got all of those together. That's what and what's these things? Knowing these things, what does that chemical do? When you're building it, helps you know where to look. That's critical, knowing where to look, knowing how to shoot. Now let's go to the next. Okay. Started at the wrong end, got back to the
put another goal in it. Put another goal in it.
Yeah.
All right, on number 3 now. Come on. Here we go. D numbers coming up on the top. Going to throw up this fire. All right, here we go. See what we get. I don't know why it's going. Okay, all right. 844-35036.
Hey. That's the wrong one. What is it? Oh.
No, you got it. Them key words gonna stick out of here.
Yeah.
Something up there. So, as I've said in the past, there's three categories of people and three categories only that are affected by asbestos. Those are three categories right there. Other than those three categories, nobody's affected by asbestos. Only men, women, children. Everybody else is okay. All right, so let's talk about some other things. There we go. Asbestosis, that's one of the diseases talk about. All right, there's three primary diseases.
That's in the long.
So one of them is asbestosis.
Asbestos.
So what is asbestosis?
That's
What is it characterized by?
That's characteristic. Each scar tissue. Scar tissue in the long.
So is asbestosis a cancer? No, it's not a cancer at all. This asbestosis is simply formation of scar tissue in the lungs. And the reason we call it asbestosis has nothing to do with this scar tissue. It's because we think the scar tissue is being caused by asbestos fire. So it's those two things put together. Lung scarring can be caused by a variety of different exposures. Several things can cause lung scarring. Physical stuff and chemical stuff can cause lung scarring. But fatal lung scarring is associated with exposure to asbestos, and we call it asbestosis. That's lung scarring. And as scar tissue begins to develop, worse and worse, which compromises the ability to make blood, makes somebody have to breathe more laboriously, and it makes the heart have to work harder. So those are the complications that come from a lung scarring disease. Typically, a person who has asbestosis and develops that, the latter stage of that, they're having a hard heart, makes things even worse. Because the chest cavity is only going to do so much, right? So if you have hearts bigger, what's that do to the lungs? Crowds the lungs, right? So that makes it more difficult. So it's a compounding type of thing. This disease can become what they call progressive. You can have exposure for a period of time, exposure stops, scar tissue may be still forming. So the disease may get worse even after exposure stops. Progressive. So be a very serious thing, but it is not necessarily 100% fatal. There's a lot of people that have very mild cases of asbestosis that probably don't really notice it that much. But it can be fatal. What happens is, I just described, happens as the heart enlarges, you have other complications. People can actually die, usually with heart failure, caused secondarily by this disease. So this was the first disease identified and observed associated with asbestos. This goes back many, many years, 100 years back. Started seeing people have certain conditions develop. They knew they were doing asbestos mining or they were processing asbestos materials. They said, hey, we noticed that we started to see people that do this particular type of work, they're getting this particular type of medical condition. So they put two together. That's where the terminology came. All right, so that's asbestosis. That's the most early associated disease. Typically, people getting this disease are people that were exposed to fairly high exposure levels over a period of time. It took several years for this to develop. It wasn't something that happened very quickly. And not everybody got this disease. It's exposure, so it's not 100%. All right. This is just a kind of a basic diagram of the respiratory tract. We breathe air in through the nose or mouth, goes trachea, windpipe. That's divided into two lung left and right lung, and the two rolling out, they find further, smaller passageways, finally ending up in clusters of air sacs terminally in the air pathway. Those air sacs are very, very thin tissue that are covered by very, very small capillaries. That's where gas transfer happens, because primarily the purpose there is served is that oxygen is transferred into the blood, carbon dioxide is transferred out of the blood. So that's part of the respiration process. So the body needs oxygen, cells in the body need oxygen work, and they produce carbon dioxide as a byproduct of metabolism. So that has to get out. So the carbon dioxide goes out, oxygen comes in, breathe, and process the lungs. So anytime that tissue that's very, very thin is thickened by scarring, it compromises that process and it makes it difficult. So the scar tissue is always going to be detrimental. Now, how much scar tissue you have in terms of how detrimental it is. Have a little bit of water scarring, you probably not notice the difference. But as it begins to get more and more and more, then complications rise. All right, so let's go on to next thing here. Talk about those disease here. The health effects of smoking with asbestos exposure are what? Two together. So studies done back in the 1950s, 1960s, especially by one particular doctor, determined this relationship, which is called synergistic effect. Cigarette or tobacco smoke plus asbestos increases the risk dramatically of what disease? Not asbestosis. Not basically on lung cancer, that disease on. Right. So lung cancer can be produced by smoking cigarettes. Right? You know that. Nobody in the right mind is saying, oh, that never causes lung cancer. Get those. It's probably the largest by far cause of lung cancer in the States. However, other exposures to other things can cause arsenic exposure, for example, can cause lung cancer. Arsenic particulates. But asbestos can also cause lung cancer by itself. Know that for a fact. But when you put the two together, cigarette smoke, for example, and asbestos exposure, risks for developing lung cancer are multiplied far beyond either one separate. So the increased risk then is estimated to be 50 to 100 times more. Call that a synergistic effect. 1 plus 1 equals way more than 2. Okay. In this case, 50 or 100. So that's a very unusual thing to see there in that particular relationship. It's not unusual in the sense that you see a lot of those effects out there. That's the large part of the pharmaceutical industry. Have warnings on certain medications that says do not take with. They're concerned about the synergistic effects. They're trying to tell you. So if you take this, you get an expected result within a certain range, and that's good, that's desirable. But if you take this and you also suggest to take this over here, you don't know what's going to happen. It's out of control. And you get way too much of it. So the effect you want in a certain range, take this plus this. These two have a very pretty, they combine, get something that's way outside that range. In fact, sometimes dead. We see that play out all the time. Don't we? We see that play out all the time. Particularly with highly popular people see this combination of overdose, this and this together. It's in the news. We see it a lot. And they just had the bad combination at the wrong time. God. That's a synergistic effect. That's what it does. So asbestos plus cigarette smoke is very bad combination. That's the thing, y'all. Is there an unusual type of cancer?
Yes.
Both response related to curable or disease inside the lung. Asbestosis, where is it? It's inside the lung, right? Lung cancer, it's inside the lung, right? Mesothelioma, not inside the lung. Mesothelioma is a cancerous tumor on the mesothelium, just a tissue that's outside the lung, inside the chest cavity. So you have the lung tissue, the lung body, you have a and then liquid layer, and you have an issue there. What is the level we have on that? What's the purpose of that? Well, there's always movement there. Diaphragm is constantly moving. Breathe in, breathe out. So chest cavity is moving all the time. Lung tissue is very delicate. You can't have that tissue against the inside wall of the chest cavity moving all the time without problems. So you have a sort of a cushioning and lubrication effect from the vestibular tissue and the liquid layer. So when you get a cancer in that vestibular tissue, you've got problems. Number one, it's not cured. Number two, you're going to die. So it's a very unusual type of cancer. It's essentially exclusive to, as far as the cause, of asbestos. And it was not discovered until later than asbestosis. Does not typically require really, really heavy exposure for everybody that gets that. Sometimes it might be, but sometimes it's very little exposure. So it's a real unknown. It does not have a dose response relationship. Asbestosis, the higher exposure, higher the likelihood of getting that disease. Lung cancer, heavy exposure, the likely you are to get that disease. Mesothelioma, that is not clear. So it is the only, it's the only one that's 100% paper. Only one of these three that's not inside the lung body itself, one of the lung bodies. And it's pretty bad news. And it doesn't take long to die. Somebody with lung cancer might live several years, and it's not 100% best. Somebody with asbestosis may live decades. It's certainly not automatic. Mesothelioma, it's not going to be that long. So, three different distinct diseases to talk about. Those are the three we're concerned. What is the dose response relationship? So Gordon described this, right? It's where the risk of disease increases proportionally with the exposure level. More exposure, more risk. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? That's a fairly simple thing to grasp. So this does apply to thinking about asbestosis. It does apply for thinking about lung cancer. Plus, we have that synergistic lung cancer. It's does not necessarily apply. So if you ever heard somebody say 1 5 kill you, we're not talking about lung cancer, we're not talking about asbestosis, they're talking about this. And that's theoretically true, although probably not likely. How many people here have less than 1 5 lung? Nobody. All got some asbestos in their life. I can guarantee. It's just a matter of how much and how our body responds. You can't predict. There's no way to predict that. Now we take large numbers of the population. We have certain exposure levels, kind of estimate, well, this is going to happen in a certain number, and this is going to happen in a certain number. Talking about like thousands and thousands of people. One particular individual, you can't know. There's no way. Motion PEL, risk exposure to what for asbestos. Overview here. We got 3 things here. All these numbers have a 1. Got 1.0 whole. Got 110, and we got 100. Okay. So PEL then is which one? That one, right? That's the PEL motion. That's for airborne concentrations. They have certain rules that are triggered to get above that number. You have to do certain things, or you're in violation of the number if you're above that number. For how long is this? Okay, so this is an 8-hour time weighted average. That's get a PWA right now. Say 8-hour PWA. All right. What is this number right here? What is it? That's short term from promotion also. So this right here is as a short term exposure limit, it's called an excursion limit. EL. Right? That's for what periods of time? Any 30-minute period. Okay? Now this one right here is different. Though. That does not come from ocean directly. What we call that right there. Right? That's the clearance level for after abatement work is done, allows reoccupancy. Right? Okay. So three different numbers. These two right here on the top. So these two right here are ocean. Okay. This is more related to EPA. Yeah. That's what they say. Excuse me, but you have to take down score. It's considered the second level. All right. So where are you safe? Where's the safety zone? Zero. That's right. Why is that? Because asbestos is what we call a known human carcinogen. Anything that's classified as a known human carcinogen has no safe exposure level. Zero. Okay. These numbers are an attempt to quantify something. Okay. Clearance level 0.01 is about as low as we can measure. So we saw get below lowest point. Use illustrations like that. Foot mark it off 1/16 of an inch. First mark is 1/16. You look at something and it doesn't come to that mark, what would you say? It's less than 1/16. You don't know exactly what it is, but it's less than 1/16. Right? So it's kind of like that here. The lowest thing we can measure from technology and the ability to sampling, house those samples, about the lowest number we can measure. So that's if we get below that, then say that's the slowest we can measure. So below that is what we're going to set apart. Okay? Getting below that number. But it's not necessarily mean something say. Just means it's below what we can measure. Asbestos can enter the body with the blood. So the route of entry is certain the route of entry concerns asbestos is inhalation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can it go through your skin? No, not really. It can embed in the skin, cause what they call an asbestos wart, which is not a wart, it's just a callus form because asbestos is irritated skin. The skin is responding by building up layers of scar tissue. So it doesn't go through the skin. Those are primary concerns, mouth and nose. Now, is it possible to have hazards from swallowing that? Okay. Breathing and swallowing it, right? Possibly. There's increased risk for gastrointestinal cancer, according to some studies, by ingesting asbestos fibers. Our primary concern is by inhaling it, get that our respiratory tract. Where does asbestosis develop? Where do you say?
See, respiratory.
Okay, it's in our respiratory system. Back to the inside of the lungs. There's no diagram. Kind of see where everything goes here. The diagram separates the abdominal cavity from the thoracic or chest cavity. Chest cavity is a sealed cavity. It's airtight, so to speak. You have an accident, get a broken rib, and puncture through, you get what's called pneumothorax, say collapsed lung. Because this chest cavity has to be kind of sealed up. And so as the diaphragm muscular structure moves down and the lungs expand and pull air in, it goes up and pushes air back out. So that's how respiration works. Heart is also in the thoracic chest cavity. Instead of the heart becomes large because of respiratory condition that causes or laborers, part needing to get blood, circulate blood, oxygenate cells and whatnot. Part needs some water because it's most of the structure, and it crowds the lungs, makes it worse. Chest cavities. Higher exposure to asbestos fibers with higher risk and expensive asbestos related disease. What do we call that? This relationship. What do we say this relationship holds true for? Two things. Holds true for what? Asbestosis and lung cancer. Okay. Does it hold true for mesothelioma? Not necessarily. All right. So higher exposure, higher incidence, or higher risk of those diseases. That's called the dose response. Dose response. How much time does it take the body to digest asbestos fibers? So that's part of the problem. Right? The body can't deal with it. What do we say about asbestos? It's a good thermal insulator. It's a acoustic insulator. It's also what? Resistant to what? Chemicals. How's the body get rid of some foreign materials? It acts chemically sometimes. It gets rid of it. Dissolves it. Moves it out. Asbestos is not work. Doesn't work. So once fibers are in there, then it gets lost somewhere in the body. But it's in the respiratory tract and swallow it, gets tract, whatever. It gets lodged somewhere, it's there. Now, obviously, some of the stuff you breathe in, you breathe back out, right? If you don't smoke, what people that smoke, that happens to breathe in some, breathe out some. Some of the stuff that they breathe in stays in there, so I'm back out. Same thing for asbestos, that would make sense, right? But some of it does stay in. That's what the problem. All of it came back out, be a problem. All right, let's talk a little bit about inspection. All right. If you have material that's been chrome or pulverized, by hand, common term, and that's just. I'm here with the asbestos, right? What does that have? What significance does that have? Well, what's it mean? That's material. It's easier to do what? When these fibers of air. It's not a problem. It's less like
Put
it's
the
not
answer.
a
Put the
problem.
answer.
It's really dangerous. Yes, because it get what? Get damaged, right? Get broken, whatever it did becomes problem. So a non-volatile material can be made to problem. Put enough energy. The more energy you put into it, down. As long as it's not disturbed, then it's probably pretty much harmless. But it's viable, even if you don't disturb it directly, even air movement or vibration can cause it to be sorry. One of these are suspect. Well, what do we call that buildings? Is this out of place? Build what? They'll say it's not. Elevators have brakes on them. So they have brakes just like a truck or a car or whatever you might have. They have to have brakes. So that's friction. An elevator then is a closed car box inside of a vertical shaft, right? What does that remind you all of? A piston and a cylinder. That reminds you of a piston and a cylinder, goes up and down. What's the piston do inside the cylinder? It's air. Some people say, oh, it's a sophisticated air pump. It's sort of right. The fuel is just used to move the piston. What happens is it breathes. Somebody's hot right engine, whatever reason, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the air. So an elevator is like an air. So you have friction materials there, which you do. So when that gets worn down, comes loose, you're blowing air all the time, it's going to spread out. So that's an elevator. Fireproofing, steam pipe insulation, all those things then are suspect materials. Miscellaneous materials, defined by here is what? All right, so there's some examples here, and it's something that's not surfacing material and not thermocentric insulation. So it's not one of those two categories, falls in the miscellaneous category. There are examples there. Okay. Or seam tile, that's a real, those are big mistakes. Now we haven't talked about this term yet, but there's a term in good condition assessment. The current condition is either good condition or what's other two possibilities. It's either good or what? Damage or what?
10%
That's
scale,
the big one.
25%.
Damage, significant. Now,
10%
significant damage
scale.
has a certain criteria. There's more than what? 10%.
And it's gotta have, and, okay.
That's not right. There's these things.
Mm-mm.
More than 10%.
Look what they said is.
Oh, okay. More than 10% scattered out, in other words, all over, or 25% localized. It's close to
10 scattered or.
You can have those
Okay. What I have on the
Say how to pick this out. Say two of
Okay.
them have the word and two of them have, let's see, yeah, two of them have the word and, two of them have, it's always got the word or, so that's down two right there.
Or 10.
And then it's 10% scattered or 25% localized.
Scattered
Another day, sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Another day.
Everybody got that.
Fairly needed this thing on that. Which of the following factors considered in determining damage to picture price? So factors considered determining damage.
Severe damage. You see severe
So
damage.
current condition is one thing, damage potential is something else. Potential for future disturbance. All right, so all those things come into play, don't they? Depending upon whether it's viable or not viable, HVAC airflow can be critical. Viable, especially. Building use patterns, where it's located in the building, who has access to it, likelihood of touch or stored or damaged or whatever. So all those things that are potential factors determining that future disturbance, future disturbance. So you got to think about what can happen on factors like these and other. Again, it's in terms of good. Our physical assessment is conducted how? It's really 40,000 square feet each on this area. Best answer here is letter B. Okay, so every homogeneous area is going to have a physical assessment. Now, if it spreads across several rooms and several floors or whatever, there may be subdivisions of that. In other words, on floor 1, 2, and 5, everything's great. On floor 3 and 7, we got 6, we got problems. So have to be very specific, but every homogeneous area has to have this physical assessment. Under this physical assessment, there are how many categories that you classify into? I think you've got a handout that shows those. I call the schizophrenic 7. They're not exactly progressive orders. There are 7 categories. 7 categories of physical assessment. 7 categories from Asbestos. Those are different. Right? There are 7 physical assessment categories. As to current condition, examples of a suspect material are not collected. So what do you do? So that's very straightforward. Like, we've got two choices there. We do sampling the suspect material, or we assume that it's asbestos. We've only got 2 possibilities. Right, the physical assessment consists of assessing what? What do we say?
This is to the future.
So we're assessing two things. Today and after today. What is it like right now? Current condition, and what we think it might be like down the road. What potential does it have for us? Some cases it's going to be probably nothing's ever going to happen there. So isolated, so few people ever go there. So it's so well protected or attacked for problem other cases. Be the opposite. So can't make that information. Now under here, how are you expected to determine the problem? How do you know this problem? What does the hero say? It's not what actually is for you. What's the problem with doing that? Yes. You make fiber release, right? So I don't like touching things. You're doing inspection, anything for any reason. Great care for you. Don't want to place you've never been into before, start touching it. That's not a good idea. I work with people like that, stuff like that. I always find it very nervous. So, be careful. Some people are overly curious. So, be careful. Might be hurt. Which is following asbestos materials is least likely to be considered viable. Out of this list right here, which one is least likely to be considered viable? From the ladies like when we see something that looks soft, fluffy, we automatically kind of assume that's probably easy to make virus. Right? It's easy to start. The best answer for this is asbestos cement, shingles society, that's called trade side. A lot of times, in addition to that being generally not a problem, anytime, it's not always, anytime, I need a coating of this stuff. I see. Not always, especially on side, okay, all the concept of paint. Have all these houses set out there, have all that on there, all the buildings. They don't have to put it up there, don't paint it, they have paint. So that even helps get more. All right, a hazard assessment factor, like again, the inspector's not going to do hazard assessment. You have to look for that. One of those factors. All right, so all of these there are hazard assessment factors. You're doing an inspection. What do you want to make up? What do you want to make notes about? All that, right? You see this. Write it down. Pass it on. True state, one of these statements is true, or it's all. I give you a hint, not all true. So they are.
Yeah, I think all.
This lay off. All these are true. All true. Simple functional space may contain more than homogeneous space, or one right? And here's area for space, right? Single area may exist in more than one functional space. Okay, that's true. You have different rooms in the building, they're there for different purposes. Might have that same those different purposes. Now, homogeneous area functional space may be only contained in one room. That's a possibility. So all these rules. All right.
Can you go back to 53? Question 53?
Maybe. Oh, it should be. 53.
Or is it 52? The one about 10% scattered or 25% localized?
It's either one of the two, significantly damaged.
Right.
10% scattered, more than 25% localized, significantly damaged. So it has to be more. 10% scattered throughout, 25%, 1/4. Either
Mhm.
one. Yeah, either one of those, that's called significant. Let's see if I can find what's right.
That's a green. It's significant.
Significant.
It's a good. It's a good. It's good. No, ain't. That them. One of them said no. One of them else is or is not. Anyway, I don't want to significant. 10% scale. 25% low.
Your power over there to open up the presentation, all that costs or slide, this right here, whatever we, what last slide. As I'll tell you what we're gonna do on this one, kind of, this one is not. It's not, it's kind of. Let's go through this kind of things we don't have to use your action device necessarily. All right, so if you're preparing the inspection report, whose liability can that impact? We said you're on the budget foundation. So what happens if you make a mistake? Who does that impact? Who can that affect the liability? Everybody, right? It's the true upstream that's downstream. So everybody, right? Sense. If significant damage problem found by the inspector, they take responsibility for the report. So what do they have to do? Pretty quickly, if you find that situation, it's a real bad cost. So significant damage is the worst case scenario, right? It's really bad. It doesn't matter what's going to happen in the future. It's already a big mess right now. You've got to isolate the area, completely isolate, or close it. So you want to try to limit exposure to be. The first thing you do is isolate, right? And then anybody's there. Then you decide whether you're going to encapsulate every problem or not. But we kind of legal actions is liable. Okay. What you got here are really the three sort of areas of liability, right? You've got tort, regulatory, contractual. Tort is like the legal law. It's like, for example, ordinarily we expect to do things this well, just kind of throw it along the bottom and what they call exit. I can't believe that bad. Regulatory means you violated the law, OSHA, EPA, otherwise. The contractual is where you sign a contract saying I was going to do A, B, and C, and you said A and B, and call it quits. You violated the contract. Okay. Well, we're going to do this and this and this in a certain way, you did it differently. That's violating the contract. That's the contractual law. So people can sue you for these different things where you can be held responsible. File charges and successfully. That's a criminal. So a tort and contractual is not different. Criminal activity, regulatory can be criminal. So those are the three areas we're not looking. So you can be held liable for those areas. What's the best insurance to have after a contract is complete? Well, this is one of those, if you can get it, kind of deal. So the current coverage is best. You get that. Insurance companies don't like that voluntarily. They might put a rider on something. What is the idea here? The idea here is that asbestos is not a short-term situation, right? Problems don't show up days of smoke, they don't show up tomorrow. These problems have what we call a latency period. late. And so it'll be years later. So that's why this idea here comes to play. Insurance coverage covers you for things that happen during the policy period after the policy is long since expired. But you don't get that kind of insurance on your car, do you? Don't have it. On your house, you get that, right? You let that policy lapse, you have no coverage whatsoever, no matter if you did have someone, you had the policy, file a claim, it's too late. So occurrence coverage, we file a claim later, after the policy expired. Then happen. That's kind of what we have other. Expect to stay in formal work and enforce skilled profession by subject to expect what?
Four.
It's actually say what we talked about earlier, more liability to be things like negligence, so not forming up to standards. That would be poor liability. That's sort of like, you know, this person was texting on their cell phone and my car. That's important. And also the other things in play for that way. That's a situation. There's a person there, this person did, there's all protection, hard hat, respirators, purple carpet, what kind of carpet is that? P100 or filter. Working in a glove bag on this pipe installation here. Complete body covering, gloves, etc. All right, so let's talk about some technical equipment. What do you think is the primary technical equipment? Right there, that's what. Who do we say was responsible for testing and respirators? Of course. That's the one, right? So these respirators are going to have NIOSH testing and certification numbers, PC tags, certain numbers. They test and certify that respirator. That's a complete what? Simple. Can't mix and match parts. Okay. It's complete simple. It's configured a certain way, test and certify that respirator. Can't alter that, maintain the certification. HEPA respirators will not protect you against what? What do they protect you against? What kind of contaminants? Exactly. They're there to filter out, take away something that's in the air as you breathe the air in. They take away 100% of it. No, it's close. It's not 100%. What is carbon monoxide? It's not particularly. It's a gas. So gases, different filters. No effect. Goes right through that. If we do want gases to go through the don't we? We like that oxygen to go through there. We want that air to go through there. We just don't want those. So, in a particular filter, what it's doing is it's letting the air go through, trying to stop as big particles as possible. What is the filtration efficiency of a HEPA filter particles greater than 3.3 microns apart? 29.97. So we call it 100 by N or R or P. N, R, and P have to do with resistance to oil hits, okay? Oil hits. So on a P100, then it's essentially oil hits proof. Oil hits is not great. So it's either non-oil hits resistant, or it's resistant, or it's essentially oil hits proof. P. Number then has to do with filtration. So 100 then is just 99.97 around the next whole number. 100. So that's HEPA. Right below that would be a 99. What do you think the efficiency of that might be? It'll be about 99. Okay. So a 99 is sorry, 99, 95. 95, so the NRP 95 is one step below HEPA. That's what they used to call it. This fume is a solid particle, by the way, not a gas. That's just a solid particle. All right, so that would be like welding the metal boils off because it's so hot, it gets back to solid particles. That's what you welding fumes. All right, so you have gases, vapors, fumes, and other particles. All right. So what about a you got a 95, then I might. Skip that out. Let's go. That happens, you know. Protection factor is high. Which one of these will give you the highest protection factor? Let's see. Well, we got a spread on that. Look at letter A and letter C. What's common to those two?
Yep.
So it's held good, right? In respirator terms, that's called a loose fitting device. Doesn't seal against the face. So those are not assigned to have high protection factors of tight fitting device. So these two right here would be tight fitting device. They both have full face piece mask, right? Not supposed to fit tight face. The difference here, though, is what? This is negative pressure. This is what? Pressure to manage is what? Positive pressure. You have a leak here, which way is the leak? Outside to inside. Here it goes which way? Inside to outside. So this is operating correctly, and then the leak does occur. What percentage of respirators leak? Remind me? 100%. That's right. All of them leak. So you have leakage here, and it's going out. You have leakage here, it's coming in. So this is considered less negative pressure is considered less protective. So one step up from that might be one of these right here, but it's not a tight fitting face. This one is tight fitting face plus it's positive pressure. So that's going to have a higher rate. So the fact you look at the table, this is from house. Okay. This is here. Big difference in 1,050. Qualitative fit test. So you got a fit test respirator. Y'all, that's automatic. Got a fit test respirator. So you do it qualitatively or you do it quantitatively. Qualitative is one of things. So in qualitative, you're not actually measuring. Not measuring. Subjectively, trying to figure out the test substance inside the mass. Okay. And so the test substance might be saccharine, might be smoke, might also be substance called vitreous, bitter tasting substance. You test that by taste, by saccharides by taste, and then banana oil or isoamino acetate is by smell. So if you either smell, taste, or get irritation like smoke inside the mask, then you say, well, that leak, and it's subjective. Person being fit tested has to say yes or no. So that's qualitative fit testing. Quantitative fit testing measures what you actually get numbers. Those numbers tell you how well or how poorly the respirator is fitting, regardless of what the person wearing the mask says. So it's not subjective. So which type of fit test do you think gives you the better result? In fact, take credit for having better protection in certain circumstances by using quantitative fit testing. So that's the two choices. You have to do fit testing. What else do you have to do to pick a wearing respirator? You have to not only fit test them, and that's not the person you do. It's the person medical evaluation. This person has to be cleared by a physician or a medical group to wear respirator. And secondly, what do you do? Not fit testing. You do second. If the person passed the medical exam, what do you do next? What comes before that and fit testing? During the training, what do you think you're going to talk about, including various things, but what do you think you're going to talk about each one of the days? We're going to talk about fit tests. Okay, here's what to do, here's what not to do. Now we're going to, at the training, we're going to do what? Fit tests. What fit tests are. How much time does it take to explain to the whole group? How much time does it take to explain person by person? Logically, I'd much rather take one group and explain it to everybody. We get the bid text, and I've already had it explained, so they never kind of what to do. Okay, just makes it go much better. All right. All respirators, what? No, they all leak, no. What else?
Shit.
Right, exactly. After each use, every day? No. Each day you do use them, each time you do use them. Go to clean them and disinfect them. So you got a brand new respirator, first thing you do, you take it out of the box, get ready to use it, what do you do first? Nope. Get it clean, that's okay. What you really want to do, what you take it, inspect it. Inspect it. And then, if you think it's clean, okay, well, feel uncomfortable, go ahead and clean it, it's fine. Then you use it. That's what you do after you use it, it's use
Clean it.
clean it. Then what do you do after you clean it? Put it over. Inspect it again. Then you do what? Then you store it properly. Right, and then it's just a cycle over and over again. But then you clean and disinfect after. All right, if airline supply system, air supply system, what does it have to provide? And then, see, what about all over respiration? Don't believe that. If I read what it was, I'm not believing. All right, so continuous monitor and monitor carbon monoxide. So anytime you use an air supply device, that's the potential. Be taken into the intake of the compressed air system, or it's low liquid compressor, pressure overheats, oil construct breakdown thermally, generate carbon monoxide inside that system, pumping it right into the mass. So carbon monoxide is always a concern in air supply system. You need to have a monitor system. One of those. All right, what about this PAPR, power air vibration? Who can get one of those? Who can wear one of those? Right. We're going to talk about this, right? First of all, we have to be medically fit. You can't just hand out respirators. Made of things. You have to make sure people are medically fit to wear one. Then they can be trained on that. What if they're already trained on another type of respirator? Give them one of these. You know? A little bit more to it, the APR, for instance, a cartridge respirator process. A little bit more involved. So if they haven't, if that hasn't been included in training, you've got to do that. Pretty logical thing to think about. It's a matter of how much it matters. You know, do y'all have a written checklist in your car? You try to get your car and start up the bicycle. Y'all have a written checklist. See if I got a written check. I just think. They got one, get on the airplane, so I don't have a written checklist. Yeah. Kind of like for them to have something up there, they're kind of going off, figure things out. Why? It's a much more complex system. Things go wrong in the airplane, you can't still over the side of the way. So, how critical it is, how complex it is.
Real thing.
How much they deal. Cars can be dangerous. They're not as dangerous in some ways as an airplane. Make a mistake. Respirator cartridge designation for people is what? What did you say that was?
100.
Okay, so it's 100. Actual efficiency number is, they don't use that number. So you've got, here's a 90. The 95, 99. 99 is what we used to call it. 95 are all these heroes, N95 masks. You know what we used to call that? A nuisance dust mask. Know what that meant? Okay. All right, so you think that's going to stop something?
How many we have?
That didn't change. That's all still the same. I have the stuff has changed.
20.
I think that's going to stop something. You go to this point. That's not rockets. Okay, that's not rockets. But that's different. That's how. Keep that. What's the predestination? Based on issues. Article 9, what is recommended protection value for basically air purified? That cartridges, you have this air purifying, you have this up here, make it work. What do they say is recommended protection value? We said a while ago, it's 50, right? Half mass of cartridges, each cartridge is 10. A full base piece with the same kind of cartridge, 50. And if you go to a supplied air respirator, pressure demand, if you go to the APR and set up correctly, they give that a 1,000. So 10 to 50 are not, you know, that's factor of 5. Then you go to 1,000, that's a big one. That should tell you something. Say things about protecting the respirator. Let's do a group effort on this. Some of y'all probably remember the right answer, but we got this 0.01. We said that was very like, that means you go in there, no protection, everything's supposed to be great, right? For 8 hours, breathing 30,000 cc's per minute. That's a fairly big breathing rate, by the way. So if you're working on whatever part of that. So 30,000 cc's per minute, 100 of a fiber per cc. By moving the decimal places, we get know that that's going to be affected in 3 fibers per minute, right? Breathe 100 of a fiber per cc, you breathe 30,000, you breathe 300 fibers in a minute. Multiply that times 480, what do you get? During 480 minutes, it's 8 hours. There you go. That's that many fibers. Does that mean all of them will stay in your lungs and breathe it in? Not necessarily, some of them do. So 144,000 per day doesn't sound as safe as 101 fibers per cc does. So that's the deal with the second, right? So we just need to understand what we need. Right? That's why respiratory property is even higher than that concentration. Very, very important. You clean it. What's lungs, what's their full name, sleep. And then just think about it. Every day you use now we got these disposable dust masks in 95. When would we use those? Now, why do we not use them for asbestos protection? Well, they're not very efficient. One thing, right? That's kind of a scientific thing. What is the other reason? Well, somebody does not approve against asbestos. Who does not give asbestos approval? No, they're not. Can an N95 mask have non approval? Yeah, sure. It's not for asbestos protection. So you got to match things up. You can't have it approved one thing and something else. That's not. That's kind of like the guy that thinks he can put up a filter cartridge on one side and a chemical cartridge on the other side, which is probably the whole thing. Well, that's not important. Those chemicals will come to this side, things will come to that side, so it's not helping things. You got to match things up. They have combination filter. You got to match things up there. What is the PDL that says what? Don't look on the board now.
0.1.
So,
0.1. Take
I'm
it.
not going to waste out. Oh, we'll see. Think like that. You get over here. That's it. All right, so it's 0.15 cc average over the hour period. Does that mean that's the same level as exposure? Is that what that's all about? No, not really. Not for asbestos. Now, some PDLs are designed for asbestos. That's really not exactly what that's doing. What that really is what I call a trigger level. That means that to get above that, you have to take certain cautions, do certain things a certain way. It's what I call a trigger level. It's really difficult. Some PDLs I would call protective level. This one I wouldn't call that. Our standard for the excursion limit, what is that? So it said, well, notice 1.5 cc, 30 minute slice today. So it's a short term exposure. you have a half mast or half place here, by respirator, what can you check, say that is a sign like a mile. Got a heat filter and a half mast. What is the big difference between a half mast respirator and a place piece respirator? Or is how effective that is? Yeah, it's fine. Well, it's factor 10 here. Half mast is 50 for base. That's factor 5. That's right. What makes that different? What do you think makes that? The feel of your face. That's a half mast respirator. Most of the time, has difficult sitting right there. Not that between your nose and cheek. It also has your difficulty with that is that plus the eye protection. Because your nose is only so, has so much real estate there. Getting safety glasses or goggles to fit correctly and your half mask respirator very challenging most people. And then 749,993. 749,993. All right, so here about pre-inspection planning. It's good to have a plan before you actually walk in the building. Kind of have an idea of what you're doing. We talked about starting at the lot of work. I think that's a good recommendation. It's not, you don't have to do it that way, but I think it just makes sense. Because look at all this stuff that's filtering a lot of the things going on. And then some of that relates to what's here. So if we start out here, I think it gives you a little bit better idea what you're doing. All right, so what steps should we take before beginning to rigorous inspection?
And keep it on.
What should you do before you begin rigorous inspection? All right, so all those things, right? You want to interview people that are knowledgeable, that's a real big thing. I always tell the guys about keys on the belt. So the person that building's got one belt, it's probably a good person to talk to. We'll look at any drawings, we're on the last section. All right, so you want to also look at construction base. Not always is building, just built one base. Sometimes for different bases, or maybe issues with the building. So you want to consider that. So some of the building might have been built after the time and house where asbestos over maybe the last 5 years. I'm not going to find any asbestos there. Okay. So you want to focus your efforts and areas that really matter. They also. All right. What about factors to consider determining a safety area? What are you going to think about? What kind of considerations?
Oh,
Ventilation is very important, right? The story perspective. You look at color texture. What about previous sampling results? What are you going to do with previous sampling results? Well done. Now, you don't want to say I'm done, do you? How do you know what they did? But they may have done a great job. They may have done a job here before all the requirements were in place too. They didn't follow the exact things, even though they might have done a competent job at that time. Maybe they use a qualified lab, maybe they didn't. So in this blood, might get find some things that you might have overlooked. Maybe they sample something, didn't notice. You go back and go, oh, there it is. I see it now. So it can be valuable. Just don't want it. Our first group of people make the best pre-inspection. This is a little bit subjective. You need a compliance officer. Drop that. You need a project designer. You don't know what to be. You don't know if there's gonna be asbestos.
Hmm.
So scratch D. So the best answer then is letter B, right? Still only representative, that person gives you authority. Okay? That person is says it's okay to be there. And when everybody cooperates, this person is going to suspect, that gives you that part of it. O&M supervisor, maintenance guy, so to speak, maintenance girl. That person right there knows what it's on. We're gonna have two different places to find everybody. So that person right there is valuable access information. And you do accredited inspector, so you can't do an inspection without accredited inspector. So that's the best pre-inspection. Gotta have those three pieces of puzzle. All right, so this keyword here is what kind of inspection? Initial inspection. So if the initial inspection, what do you not have out of that particular condition? You don't have a previous inspection for this. So scratch B. So what do you need to review? You can only review one thing. Well, I'd like to look at this. This right here is going to be more valuable, right? Because this right here is probably going to have more accurate, thorough explanation of what's there. Because sometimes in building specifications, we'll have things specified there that may or may not show up as call out or no. Right. And people have different styles to do blueprints too. This right here, what is this going to relate to? This is going to relate to legal issue. They have these specifications. They don't meet those specifications, and they can have damage assessments or not. Is there damage failure to complete people get paid? Okay. So they're going to pay attention to that. So this right here is going to be closely appears to more likely than. So that's how the contract is made. Inspector should be involved in that. This is that kind of recommendation. What would you do? So the best answer in the test notes are the same here. And the longest answer. Those of you that have not been here before, we have that longest answer rule. That may have not heard of. If you're totally guessing something and don't have a clue what the answer is, people all the time. This is longest, that's the most work. But start at the bottom, work up, especially each area of those three categories here. So now the sampling is not going to happen right then. This is kind of like the preparation sampling, right? You don't even know what you're going to do in sampling. So this is kind of getting everything figured out. I used to build industrial hygiene work. What I would do is I would try to go to the facility. I never been there. I go to the facility and I'm going to walk through that. I'm with representative, knowledgeable safety person, HR person, whoever they're taking me through the facility, looking at things, and I'm making notes. And then next thing we're going to do, air sampling, what we're doing. Then there's got to be sampling strategy based upon solid walkthrough. And maybe the scope of the drive. And then the sampling actually occurs on the second page. Question will get like sampling. Here, not we're necessarily about time, but we'll lay things out, start taking samples. Construction specification on what? One more construction. Now, I'm looking at this one, and I don't even want to read it, which one I'm going to be. All right. But if I do read it, that doesn't make sense. All right. You see the words always, never, and answer, there's suspicion, that's not correct. And here's the word always, right? That's not. It's not a specific matter of these, that they want to performance crop here, all that. But not here, this is the best answer. Standards, figures, for the contractor about the details required construction materials and methods. Right? That's just one thing. That's what the materials, that's sort of the asbestos. They're gonna spec out vinyl asbestos tiles, translite soffit, something like that. All right, so here is record. I'm not sure what that's supposed to represent, but very impressive. Don't forget it, island hospital. Better with it, don't forget. I went there when I was about this big, I wasn't on anything there. I was there with my dad. All right. After inspection, let's see how much time does the inspector have. What must be heard of? 30. That's it, 30 days. 30 days sounds a lot longer. But you have to wait for bad results, all that stuff. 30 days is short time. All right, and management plans to detail document includes what? So this is not what you're going to do. You need to. My theory about all these things is you got to anticipate what's going to come next. You got to know what how your stuff is. Do the best job. So, descriptions, locations, ACM are sent, results, inspections, the procedure statement, for building occupancy. All those things right there are included in that. Green check, badge. And this is the longest answer from this plus this plus. Well. What the following, which of the following must be included in the inspection report? So what is it? Now, that rule we talked about is a rule. In this case, the longest action would be this one. That's not. Letter B is the correct answer. What's wrong with letter A? Yeah, that's not the report, it's general. About where you basically exact. So what's your something that's question what's inside that's so obituary, this is talking about.
And especially also.
Funding stock house, use my college physics professor. And I never was especially great at this. And I really had a little trouble in his class. Super nice guy. Very helpful for a lot of that. He understood physics left and right, upside down, backwards, play. I just couldn't exactly understand his explanation of it. But on his test, what he would do is he would have multiple choice tests. And of course, physics, you have a lot of these problems and calculations. So you expect like A, B, C, and D have these different numbers, and you figure out your answer. These matches hopefully out there. But on his test, sometimes what he would put A, B, C, and D numbers, the results, then he would put letter E blank. I don't know statistically how much that increases difficulty and probability of guessing the correct answer. I know it increases a lot. So that was really tough. Something he did in his class. But if you just have 4 choices, find one or more that are bad, really ups your chance to get the right answer. All right, so the inspection must also include correct classification among these. All right. This is not your job, is it? No. Whose job is that? That's the management planner job, right? Okay. So you know that's wrong, so that takes out that, then that's all, because management planner can tell you. It's got to be that one. Records of physical assessment information filed by you, it's critical.
See,
What is that, all that stuff do, what's critical? Everything. Yeah, you're doing what, you're laying the foundation for everything that's happening. So your stuff is critical to all this stuff. Critical to the success of all that. Photographic records. What value are photographic records? So years ago, that involved get your 35mm camera out, get this stuff called film out, camera. Take the pictures, which you're only going to have a rolling micro 36 others probably, sometimes 24, sometimes 12. You put another roll. Take all that film down to this place to get it developed, pay for all that. Now what do? Take pictures. Just do it quickly. How much do they cost a piece? Zero, pretty much, right? And if you don't want them, you can discard them, or you can do whatever. So it's a whole different world now with photographs. You can take a lot of photographs. It doesn't cost you. It's memory space. But it helps describe homogeneous areas, documents local sector sites. That's true. And it can fix damage. In other words, you can say in your report, well, I saw this, and this was this percent damage, et cetera, et cetera. But if you have a picture of it, that's like 10 times more valuable. I want to do both. Having that picture is very, very important. So photographic records taking plenty of pictures, there's no longer a limitation. Years ago, well, it cost $300 for these photographs. Don't do that. So here's a photograph example right here. Now, if you were to have to write up the script for that right there, that'd be a little difficult. Yeah, that'd take a while to write that down. Try to do that. For somebody to go back to that spot, find that. I can take a picture of that. And if anybody's got any kind of judgment whatsoever, they can probably fly back to the exact spot. Okay. So that's very, very valuable. Plus, it shows where you took the sample, things like that. Proper record keeping should be able to answer which of the following questions. Y'all are stacking up there on A and C. What's wrong with C? Okay. If this word surrounding, okay, this is very vague. And it changes. That really doesn't. Yeah, that's not a. That's just nonsense almost. Yeah. That sounds like a politician.
Yeah.
Specify what.
And see that.
So location and then the current condition.